Now, Ask Dr. Love with psychotherapist, author, love and relationship expert Jamie Turndorf, PhD.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and it's my pleasure to be with you as always. Today's show I'm calling Cat Got Your Tongue? I'm helping women find their true voices. And with me I have two guests. The first is Judy Cohen. She's a presentation expert, speaker, and certified seminar leader who owns and runs Red Hot Presentations. She's the author of the book Red Hot Presentations, How to Write and Deliver a Talk so you get more clients, make more money, and become famous in your niche as a speaker. And her book's available on Amazon. And Judy has committed her life to helping people learn to speak up. And she's on the quest to empower individuals to find their voice, overcome the fear of speaking, position themselves as an expert in their field through the power of presenting. And also, I have Elani Latsios. She is a remarkable young woman. I met her a week ago at a conference, and she is devoting herself to becoming an inspirational speaker and a motivational speaker for teens. So, without further ado, let me say hello to you, Judy and Elani. Are you both there?
Hi. Yeah.
Hi. So we've got an echo on the line. I hear both of you at the same time. So to make it clear, I'll try to say Elani or Judy so that you know who I'm talking to since we can't see each other. All right?
Okay.
All righty. So, Judy, I was interested to hear your story about why you want to help people find their voice. And as you know, usually when we have a calling, it's because we're first of all trying to fix ourselves. So did the cat get your tongue too?
I would have to say that it certainly did. I suffered a difficult childhood, and as a result, I shut down. I became afraid of people, places, situations. I just couldn't speak up. No matter what I did, I just remained silent. Eventually, I graduated from college, and I took a job as a marketing assistant, and I did quite well in marketing, but the vice president of marketing said to me that I will not advance in the company if I don't learn how to speak up. And just those two little words filled me with fear. I just couldn't imagine vocalizing in front of others. And he took it upon himself to become my mentor, my coach. And whenever I was in a meeting, he would come and stand behind me and whisper in my ear, "Speak now. Speak now." Just two little words. He gave me permission to find my voice and to use it in a way that I never did before. And I worked through my fear. It was hard at first, but I did it. And when I did that, my career soared. I just kept advancing through the company. And I discovered that that is the key to success, to be able to speak up. And now my goal in life is to help others do what my mentor did for me. It is now my turn to stand behind them and whisper in their ear, "Speak now."
Oh, I love your story. I love your story. In fact, you've rendered me speechless. It's just wonderful. Now, Elani, is that also your story, that you found it difficult to speak, and so now you are working through your own obstacles and wanting to inspire teens?
Well, actually, I've always been into acting and singing and dancing, so I've always loved and kind of been comfortable with, bigger crowds and speaking to people. I never saw it as something that I could use to help change other people, and I've always had these thoughts, and I've always been able to talk to people one-on-one, and when people would tell me that I'm motivational or that, I really inspire them, I thought, why can't I turn this into something where I can do this by the masses, where I can help hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people even kind of empower them to do the things that they want to do in life. So I've never thought of it as a career until maybe 1 or 2 years ago. And then from that point on, I just decided that this is something I want to do. I want to be able to speak to large crowds of people and inspire them and do this as something that I love, because, you know, the saying where if you love what you do, then you'll never work a day in your life. So that's something that I've kind of taken and ran with and decided that that's what I want to do with my life.
That's nice. So Judy, talk to me about, you know, why you think it's so difficult for women especially to speak up.
I think women, depending on their age, have been taught to be more submissive. Even with the changes in society these days, women in the 50s and 60s, they were taught to be quiet and not share from their authentic heart. And then women in later decades, they became more assertive. But we need to find a middle ground. We need to find a place where we're speaking from our heart and connecting with people authentically. And the key to that is sharing the message of who we are. Just like Elani just shared who she is, and I shared who I am, and I know your story, we need to come from that place of truth. And as heart-centered individuals, I think we can do that. It's the key to opening up doors for communication.
That's wonderful. Now, how do you see the question of being authentic in the workplace? Because, you know, there's always, a lot of times patients will say to me when I'll say, you know, say what you're thinking and feeling, speak from the heart. And then I will make a caveat that it's not appropriate in all cases to do so in the workplace. Because, you know, traditionally we think about women being emotionally expressive and communicative, but in the workplace, you don't want to be wearing your heart on your sleeve, going up to a boss or a coworker and saying, that really hurt my feelings and that reminded me of my childhood. It's not appropriate to the workplace. You agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
We need to find a way to express ourselves and do it at the right time. I think if we start speaking up in meetings, if people start hearing us speak authentically all the time, we won't get caught in that place where we have to say, you hurt my feelings. Because people will treat us with respect when they see that we are a self-assured individual.
That's very true. And I always make the distinction between expressing versus asserting yourself. The goal is, you know, I'll never forget, this is a really good example of what I'm talking about. I was supervised by Lou Ormond, who was the founder of modern group psychoanalysis. I studied with him for like 15 years, postdoctoral. He was trained by Hyman Spotnitz, who himself was trained by Sigmund Freud, no less. So it was like practically being supervised by Freud. And one day, Lou asked me if I would write a book with him, which was a great honor. And I was a member of a professional group of training psychoanalysts, and people would fly in from all over the country. And one of the members of the group lived in California and couldn't get in very often. So he would be on the phone listening to the group. So he flies in one time to New York City, and we all meet, he, I, and Lou. And he turns to me in the middle of the meeting, and he says, you know, since I'm not here every group, what I would like you to do for this book is I'd like you to take notes. He said, and then after you give me the notes, I'll put all the theory into the notes. Well, I could feel my blood boiling. I thought, what the heck? You're trying to put me in the position of a recording secretary? You know, I was really mad. And then I immediately did what I always advise my patients and my women patients to do, which is to convert the feeling into an assertion. So instead of getting mad or saying I am mad, I simply did what is the highest and best use of our feelings. I just asserted myself and I said, I'm not in this project to be a recording secretary. That's all I said. Set the boundary, spoke up. So this is something I think women have not learned how to do, which is either we stuff it or we blow up with too much emotion and we're bitchy and saying horrible things. And want to find that middle ground where you just assert yourself, set a boundary or a limit. So do you talk about that in your trainings? Either of you, Judy, Elani?
Yes, it's so important because as women, I love the way you said that because it didn't put the emphasis on him or on you. You just stated your fact of what you were there to do. So nobody could take personal offense.
Right.
And that's what women sometimes do. We take a personal offense and we put it in that place inside of ourselves and we let it stay there. and then something else will happen, and we put that inside, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth instance until there's no more room inside, and we blow up and we say things that are inappropriate. And it could be over something quite simple, nothing even that earth-shattering, yet we overreact.
Elani, I'm sure you know what she's talking about.
Yeah, I definitely see that with just women, but anyone in general, if we take things too personally, we tend to kind of bottle everything up, and then it becomes just so much that we just break down or we just can't handle it. And I think that one of the most important things, and that I've heard from a lot of people, and they've helped me with it, is that you cannot take things so personally, because sometimes people are just taught a certain way, and it's not anything against you. It's just how they're kind of raised and how they're taught to act a certain way. So when someone says something and it's offensive, or if it's just not something you like, or they hurt your feelings, you just have to understand that, of course it's very important to speak your mind, but you also have to realize that if it's not a personal attack, it's best to kind of acknowledge that it's not personal, and sometimes it's just the way things are. You can't let your emotions get in the way of your kind of rational thinking.
Right. So the thing is, number one, women tend to excessively personalize. I call it sticking your emotional nose into things and putting it where it doesn't belong. So we're often assuming that people are talking to us, when in fact people generally don't even see us. They're just talking out loud to themselves in a reverie, saying and doing whatever they need to say and do to be comfortable. A really good example of this is my supervisor again. Big founder of modern group analysis, and he tells me that he goes into his office one day and his secretary is scowling and he takes it personally. What did I do to offend her? What did I do wrong? He's just freaking out until finally an hour later she admits that she had had a fight with her boyfriend the night before. So always assume it's not about you anyway. People are reacting from their own internal struggles and problems and history and baggage, right? So we don't want to take anything personally, because people are not generally relating to us anyway, right?
Exactly.
Right. And the more you get that, the more you're able to function in a free way. Because as you were saying, Judy, when you take it personally, then you start getting hurt, then you get angry, then you blow up. And of course, women are notorious for stuffing their feelings until they have what I call a please pass the salt moment. You know what that is? This is the please pass the salt moment. I'll tell you really fast before we take a break. Husband and wife are sitting at the dinner table. And the husband now says to his best friend the day after, I think I ruined my marriage last night. The friend says, what happened? He said, well, we were all sitting at Thanksgiving. My wife was there, her parents, my kids. I made the worst Freudian slip of my life. I turned to my wife and I said, you effing bitch, you've ruined my life. When all I meant to say was, please pass the salt. That's the please pass the salt moment. When you store up feelings, you're a loose cannon and it slips out sideways, you lose it. I'm going to take a brief break and I'll be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio. Hello again and welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf. I'm talking with Judy Cohen and Elani Latsios about how to overcome the cat got your tongue, how to help women find their true voices. You guys, this is my section of the show which I call Dr. Love's Quickie, short little segment. I always do some tweets. So let me run some tweets by you and then we can talk a little more about our topic. So here's my first tweet. Be truthful. Being truthful can be useful. And does your truthful tongue leave others feeling stung? If that's true, I got to give you an unofficial PhD in the rules concerning honesty. Speak. Don't shriek. And here's another one. Is there too much tooth in your truth? And when you speak, are you proud of what comes out of your beak? And do you seesaw between meek and freak? If you allow the cat to get your tongue, soon afterwards someone's going to get stung. And exercise choice when you give voice. And here's another one, because we're going to talk more about this. In order to catch a man, do you focus on wiggling your can? Oh, God. And it's what's in your brain, not your bra, that makes him go gaga. And hiding your light under a bush is the worst kind of self-ambush. Right? So let's talk a little bit about how women censor themselves around men. You guys have noticed, I'm sure. Did I lose you both? Wait a minute. The cat got both of your tongues simultaneously? Wait a minute. We're not supposed to be going backwards here.
Judy, do you want to speak quick?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Who wants to go?
It's Judy here. Unless Elani would like to speak up.
Well, Elani, do you notice that the girls in your school are more focused on just trying to use sex appeal, wiggling their can to catch a man, worrying about their bras and their cleavage, as opposed to just showing their brains, being real and authentic? Are the girls exhibiting that in your school?
Well, I think that a lot of teenagers, especially these days, just kind of have used that as a platform to kind of get things that they want. And I do see that sometimes with people who just need that as kind of like a confirmation that they're important, or they use that as their kind of measurement of their self-worth. And, they dye their hair, they wear, the push-up bras or the tight clothing, basically everything you were saying. And I think that it just stems from kind of like a lack of self-importance. They don't think that they're important enough to do other things, or they might not realize it. So they'll do those things to kind of get attention. And that's why I really like stressing, especially, to girls especially, that if you have something that you're passionate about and you have something that you want to tell others about to really help themselves, that gains so much more respect out of people, and guys especially, when you do act smart and when you do act like you're passionate about something and you don't just base it off your appearance.
That's right on, girl. You're way ahead of most women of any age. And Judy, what do you think?
I think Elani says something so profound that I wish women could hear it.
Right.
We hear it, but we don't internalize it. We're so caught up in how we look that we forget that how we look in the inside is what makes us look great on the outside.
It's so true. And, women keep on thinking, guys want skinny little bags of bones, or women with humongous boobs and this and that. And when you talk to men, apart from really, really young guys, and of course all generalizations are false, but generally speaking, as men get older, they're more concerned with what's in a woman's brains as opposed to her bra. They're more interested in an authentic, real connection. When you ask men why they have chosen to make a lifelong commitment to a woman, you will never see in these studies, you'll never see men say, it's because she had big knockers. Never. Never. It's always because they feel comfortable with the woman, they feel at home with her, it's a comfortable feeling, and because they feel that she is the highest and best expression of all women. Just she's everything. And it's not about just her physical appearance. But women seem to keep forgetting this.
I agree. I think that's why we see the divorce rate is so high, and it's almost as if the more we continue to care so much more about our appearance versus personality, we start seeing, the divorce rates going up and just being very high in general, because people are just becoming so accustomed to meeting people and just kind of having the whole quote-unquote love at first sight kind of thing, and just using that as a way to connect versus using their brains or using their, things that they have in common. And so many times after, a year or so, I have a friend who said she has a mom who's been divorced, I think 3 or 4 times, and it's almost as if people are just using their looks to kind of meet other people, and they're not really looking at the other person's values and looking about what they believe in. So that's why it's becoming such a big problem today.
Right. All right. Let me take a brief break. I did tell you this was Dr. Love's Quickie. I'll be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio. Hello again and welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf and I'm talking with you today about the cat that got your tongue, helping women find their true voices. And I'm talking with Judy Cohen, a presentation expert, speaker, and certified seminar leader who owns and runs Red Hot Presentations. And she's the author of the book, Red Hot Presentations, How to Write and Deliver a Talk so you get more clients, more money, and become famous in your niche as a speaker. And it's available on Amazon. And I also have as my guest Elani Latsios, a wonderful teen presentation and speaker expert. She's becoming a motivational speaker. I can't find my words. Help me. There we are. So we're talking about why women don't have their voice. Did you guys read my newsletter? I cited a piece of research that confirmed what I had experienced as an undergraduate at Vassar College. I went to Vassar in the early years when it had just become co-ed. It was not exactly 50-50, but the professor said that as soon as they started adding men to the classrooms, women stopped talking. Suddenly they were self-conscious. They didn't want to seem too smart. They deferred to men. And before men came into the classroom, women were just doing their thing and not worrying about their image or offending men. So there was a study that was conducted recently that confirmed what I experienced at Vassar, that once girls become adolescents, suddenly they stop talking, they become self-conscious, men become more outspoken, and women shrink back. So are you seeing this in school, Elani? Are you seeing this among your clients?
Yes, I think that women don't value what they bring to the table. They don't value themselves enough, and they shrink in the presence of men because of that. I think that what women can do, the ultimate loving relationship, starts with ourselves. If we can love ourselves and value ourselves for the strong women that we are, we will have stronger loving relationships with men. I think it all starts with ourselves and looking at our authenticity. And if we can't love ourselves, why should anybody else love us?
It's so true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. Because everything that we sow is what we reap. We get back what we sow. And if you are feeling, I'll have women say to me, I want somebody to love me and then I'll feel better about myself. And I'll always say, but if you disrespect yourself and devalue yourself and put yourself down, even in your own mind, you're sending out nonverbal, energetic signals that say, dump on me, don't respect me because I don't respect myself.
Yeah.
I think, I actually, like you asked me earlier, in school, I just see that a lot of people, or a lot of girls just in general, shrink in the presence of other girls and guys when they're asked questions or something. They're like, oh, I don't know. They kind of act as almost if they're too cool, or that they're scared of what people are going to think, so they don't really speak up, or they don't really kind of speak their mind, and they kind of just go with everyone else is thinking. And I just think that is one of the things that people really need to realize and kind of acknowledge, is that you have your own voice, and even though you might not agree with what other people say, you might have a different opinion, it's okay to speak up. And like you were saying, you want to do it so that you don't let your emotions get the best of you, but you also want to do it so that people see and you get your point across. And I think one of the biggest things today is I just see people not wanting to say what they feel, girls especially, because they're just so worried about what other people think, and they don't respect their own opinions enough to think that, you know what, not everyone, like you said, is going to like you. Not everyone's going to agree with you. It's not personal. It's just the way things are. And so that's why it's so important to speak up and say what you're thinking, because at the end of the day, none of us are the same. Every single one of us are individuals, and so that's why, everyone has something that they can offer to the world, and it's important to kind of speak your mind.
Judy, isn't she something else?
She's amazing.
She's amazing. And Elani, how old are you?
I'm 17.
Unbelievable. You're just unbelievable. Now, do you credit your confidence to your relationship with your mother? Because I saw your mom was with you at the conference I attended, and she is so behind you and so believes in you. Do you feel that that's a big, big launching pad for you?
Yeah, to be honest, my parents, they've always had their own, they've always been self-sufficient. My mom does real estate. My dad has his own business, and they've always believed in kind of like personal development and kind of creating your own life. I have the quote I like to use, life by design, not by default. So it's basically just says how you should create your life and not just default to what you think others are doing or what you think you should do. And I think that just that philosophy and what they've taught me about kind of being able to speak up and do the things I want, even if it's not necessarily what the status quo or the flow is. I think that mindset that they've instilled in me, it truly makes me the person I am today. And they've always taken me to seminars, and I know, Jamie, I actually met you at a seminar that my mom had brought me to, and I think just going to those seminars have helped me so much realize that I have a limitless life. Like, I have no limitations on me, whereas before I really believed in going to seminars and reading personal development books. I didn't really think like that, and that's why I've kind of wanted to make it my mission to kind of help teenagers and everything pretty much just have everything that I have, because although their parents might not be involved in personal development or seminars, that's completely fine. I just want to offer other kids, other teenagers, the opportunity to hear what I hear so that they can do the things they want to do and feel kind of the feelings I'm feeling of feeling like I'm limitless.
Isn't that wonderful? That's really, really wonderful. So now, we're talking about having the courage to find your voice, whether it's in your interpersonal relationships, whether it's at a business presentation. So, Judy, what do you tell your clients is the best way to connect with an audience when you're speaking?
I tell them to step into their confidence, to believe in the message that they share. People are there to hear what's being offered. They're not there to criticize or judge you, but just to connect with your message, and then they will resonate with what you're putting out. And we start breaking down the barriers. The walls will start coming down when we speak to authentically to the people who are around us, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many. It's just engaging them with honest conversation. It's so beautiful when we speak from our hearts.
Absolutely. And you're raising a really important point, too. We were talking about not taking things personally. When you're too focused on yourself and what will they think of me and will they like me and will they laugh, you're missing the point, which is to get out of yourself, connect to the other, bring value to the other, And when you're focused on the other, yourself just fades away.
Yes, it's not about us. Whenever we share a message, we get on stage, we speak with someone, it's not about us, and that's what we forget.
Exactly.
And I think we become too vulnerable that way. We tend to go inside, and then it's like your Vassar study. We start looking at it from the wrong perspective.
Absolutely. Did you guys read that research that said people fear speaking in public more than anything else? I think maybe the dentist, or maybe visiting the proctologist. I think public speaking is the worst, right?
I read a statistic that said 3 out of 4 people are afraid to get up and speak in public.
One thing that people don't realize about me, because I'm always so comfortable on the radio and on TV, many of the greatest public speakers actually have stage fright. And I am one of them. And I'll never forget the time that I flew to Chicago when my last book came out, Till Death Do Us Part, Unless They Kill You First. The publisher sent me to Chicago to do the Jenny Jones show. Now, I never watched daytime TV, so I didn't know what the show was. They just said, it's a serious show. They want to talk about helping couples. So I fly to Chicago, and I am in the green room listening to the show that's being taped before mine, and I think I'm going to have a nervous breakdown because I already had stage fright. And then I hear what people are saying to each other. You effing this, you effing that. And I hear crashing and banging and police are pulling people off the stage. Well, I started to hyperventilate and I think, this is it, man. Dr. Love is going to have a heart attack in the green room. And I call my husband and I'm hyperventilating and I'm saying, I can't go on, I can't do this. I'm going to be like fresh meat being thrown to the wolves. So finally it's my show and it's my turn to go on. And when you have stage fright, the minute the cameras go on or the lights go up, you're usually fine. And that was the case. We start, and Jenny asks me to talk to these people. My topic was these people were cheating on their spouses with partners, with sisters, it was a free-for-all in a zoo. So I talk about controlling oneself, impulse control, and that cheating is the ultimate screw you to your partner. Instead of talking about what's wrong, you say screw you in behavior by cheating. Well, now the audience that comprises thousands of people en masse boos me. The whole audience is booing me on TV. And I just, at this moment, turned to Jenny and I said, well, Jenny, they can keep hanging each other up by the family jewels. You see where that's gotten them. So I basically told her in the audience, go scratch. You guys are not getting it. So I got thrown off the stage.
Oh, my.
That's what happened. But I tell you what, it was a positive experience. I was scared. But in the end, I spoke my truth. I set a boundary, and it was a wonderful experience. And it was a real turning point. So, the thing is, Judy, you always say you have to fake it till you make it. Fear and all, you go out, you do your thing. I'm sure you tell your people that.
Absolutely. Because we need to feel confident and act confident, and then eventually we'll be confident. We have to visualize the end result. And when we do that, we'll start internalizing those feelings. We have to stop that negative self-talk. We have to stop putting ourselves down and start using words of empowerment and then incorporate that feeling. And when we step out on that stage, we will look and feel confident. And even if we're not, fake it till you make it, and people will buy into it. Because that's what they want to see. They want to see someone on stage or talk to someone who's confident.
That's true. And the thing is, you just put forth the feeling. Like when you smile, you feel happy. When you bow, you feel reverent. When you go out and you do your thing with confidence, even if it's a performance, you keep on faking it and you have success under your belt, and then you do become confident.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I saw a show once, The Dog Whisperer. Did you ever see that show?
Yes, I have.
Yes, there was a dog who would not go outside. He was afraid. And Caesar, in his way, he tied a string on the dog's tail, lifted the string, and took the dog outside. When the tail was lifted, the dog felt confident. It was natural for the dog. So
talk
with
about
the
having
string,
your butt in the wind.
Yes, he had it up there, and he was faking it till he made it. And eventually the string came off. The dog could walk outside confident. And
wow.
I say, tie that imaginary string on your tail and get out there.
Put your butt in the wind and go for it. I'm going to take a brief break, and I'll be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio. Hello again, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and I'm talking with public speaking expert and trainer Judy Cohen and Elani Latsios. So we're talking about how to find your voice. Now, Elani, have you given any public speeches yet?
Well, I have, actually. I'm part of a company. It's a network marketing company, and I'm constantly doing speeches in front of large crowds. So that's really helped me get out of my comfort zone. And I'm part of a club called FBLA, which is it's Future Business Leaders of America. And I entered an event, a regional event for public speaking, and I won first place last year. And this year I'm planning to do it again. And I plan to win first place at regionals, hopefully, and move on to states and then hopefully nationals. So it's really helped me, and I know Judy has helped me so much develop as a speaker, and she's helped me prepare speeches for that. And basically what I just plan to do is I think I might start kind of pulling people aside and just telling them, hey, I'm going to give a talk on motivation or about mindset and stuff, and just really start small and just continue to grow from there.
That's wonderful. All right, so Judy, let's talk about how we can help people control their nerves before they give a talk. What do you suggest people do?
Well, the number one thing is to work on their breath. That is the most essential, because when we're nervous, we tend to hold our breath. So we need to find a way to breathe in and then let it out. With sound usually helps. So if we go, it just releases that nervous energy. And if we can find a quiet place before going on stage and practice breathing, that's beautiful. Another thing we can, yes, because we just get so caught up in our nerves and thinking that breathing focuses on the body.
Right. It's absolutely true. And, you know, if you're nervous before a date, you know, or before you have to speak with someone, you want to do that breathing, that audible breathing before you get in front of the person, because then the person's going to think you're hyperventilating or panicking or whatnot. So you do it privately, as you said.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and then when we're on stage, a nice thing to do is ground ourselves, to walk out, to separate our feet slightly and drive the energy through our legs into the floor. Men are great at this, and women need to work on this. A lot of times women put their feet together on stage, or they cross their legs while they're standing, and we tend to rock when we do that. We're off balance. So we really have to ground ourselves and ground our energy right into the floor, and that gives us a confident presence when we're on stage. And another thing,
I love that image of the tree, right? That there's almost like a tree running through your spine, all the way from your spine down to the ground.
Exactly, and the roots.
Right. The roots go into the ground. And then if you pee yourself because you're so nervous, you'll just water the roots.
There you go. Win-win.
Go on. What else?
And the other thing we can do is limber up our body beforehand to get the blood flowing. So roll our shoulders, speak. I mean, warm up your jaw. A lot of people say tongue twisters. They might recite little rhymes or poetry, but get the body moving and fluid. And then when we're out there, we're not tense, because people can see that. We show it, and people pick up on that, and it takes from our energy, which is not good. We need to be confident and grounded on stage. And if we find we're getting nervous up there in the butterflies, take a breath. Just take a breath. And remember, it's not about you. It's all about them.
The other person.
Absolutely.
So now you always say have a concise message.
Yes. Because we need to speak one message. We can't be everything to everybody. So what do we want to represent? Who are we? What are they there to hear? Have that concise message, and people will understand who we are. And we start making that connection.
That's a very interesting point, because, you know, women often, now I'm speaking interpersonally as opposed to just in a public speech, women are notorious for what I call, this is a fight trap, kitchen sinking, where when you want to put out a point to your partner, you throw in everything into the kitchen sink. And then the partner is scratching his head saying, what are we talking about? So it's very important to practice the mental discipline of choosing one message, whether you're giving a public speech or whether you're talking to your partner.
Exactly. And if we're talking to our partner, then we can't say, well, they never speak to me. Maybe we've just confused the heck out of them by giving too many messages.
Yeah, if you ask men, very often they say, I love her, but I don't know what the heck she's talking about. They truly don't understand so often. So, Elani, do you have a boyfriend? Are you putting any of this stuff into practice with a boyfriend, or are you just a solo agent right now?
Yeah, I mean, I am single. I had a boyfriend for a while, but now I like being single because I really want to focus on myself and kind of the things I do. And I think having a boyfriend in high school after a while gets pointless, just keep chasing boys and stuff, because it's not really worth it. And at the end of the day, if you focus on yourself now and you really develop yourself and all the things you want to do, then you'll be so much better off. And so that's what I always say is if, you have one serious boyfriend in high school, that's great. And then after that, you should really try to focus on yourself. You know what I mean?
It's a wonderful notion, Judy. I'm sure you know that women from our generation did not always have the idea of develop yourself first, develop your career first. It was more about develop, go to school to get your MRS degree, right?
Exactly. Yes. And we even thought it was selfish, if we focused all this attention on ourselves. And now we look at it as being selfless. We engage more with other people. When we can focus on ourselves and be all that we can be, then we have more to give to others, not just the MRS.
Being healthy, there's a healthy selfishness that if you're not okay and you're not loving number one and taking care of number one, you're useless to anybody else.
Exactly. We have to be focused on ourselves first, because then we have so much more to give others.
Right. Now, here's an interesting concept about addressing people according to the different ways that people learn. And this is interesting because it doesn't only apply to public speaking, but also interpersonal interactions in business or in your personal relationships. Some people are visual learners, some people are auditory learners. So how do you think about that when you're preparing a speech, a public speech, or you're about to talk to a boss or a friend or an intimate partner? How do you take into account the way the other person processes and learns?
Well, whenever I give a speech, I know that the audience is going to be made up of people of all different learning styles. So for people who are visual learners, they like to see things. They respond well to graphic images and props. Whereas auditory learners, they need to hear things. They like to hear things described. They love stories. So we try to use as many of those devices for the auditory learners. Whereas others may be analytical and they need to know how things work, and they like examples, and they will sit and think about what you say and what you share. And the kinesthetic learners, they're the more physical people. So having an activity and interactions involves them. So the key is to involve all of the people in your audience when you share a message. So share it in those different ways, and then you have reached all of them, because it's not fair to speak to just some of your audience and eliminate others. And the same is true in our personal relationships. When people say, I hear what you mean, they're auditory people. I see what you're saying. They're visual learners. So if we pick up on the keys to the way people speak to us in our personal relationships, we'll know how to speak in a way that they will hear us.
I hear you, Judy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so you're an auditory learner.
Right. I see what you mean. So, and some people are mixed. They have many different ways. We're not always one thing.
We're all a mixture, but we usually have one that's more dominant than others.
Right. So what are you thinking, Elani, as we are speaking? Are you thinking something? Are you hearing something? Where are you?
Well, I like, taking it all in and listening to what you and Judy have to say, because I do agree with a lot of things, that we're talking about, and about what you were saying about how to speak is so important, because if people don't know how to speak, then they're not going to want to speak up. And so if they learn how to kind of, breathe and relax and do all these things that you were talking about, I think people are much more likely to speak up, because they know that, they're doing it in the full confidence to the best of their ability.
Right. Absolutely. And one of the best ways to improve any skill is to surround yourself with people who do it better than you do it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things actually is just in general surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like, surrounding yourself with people that have things that you want, or with people that are almost like kind of just successful. If you surround yourself with people who do things that you don't like, or like they're not motivated, or they're not in touch with what they want to do, or they're not passionate about things, you're likely going to fall in that same trap. That's why, like, with what I like to say is, high school's a very hard place to find people that that are just like you, or find people that want to surround themselves with and talk about their futures. You know what I mean? It's very hard because everyone's just concerned about the, next party or the weekend or things like that. And so that's why I really try to surround myself around people that are kind of motivated towards their future. And thank God I happen to have a twin sister. And so we really kind of can motivate each other and kind of give each other that push and kind of be there for each other when things get hard, because it is very hard sometimes being in high school and not being able to relate to people who don't really care or haven't really given much thought to the things they want to do in life. So that's why, like you were saying, when you surround yourself with people who are really good at something that you want to be good at as well, you'll eventually get what they get if you say what they say and do what they do.
Exactly. So now, what can the men do? 'Cause I always like to come back to our interpersonal relationships. That's what Ask Dr. Love is about. What do you think men can do for the women in their lives? Like the mentor that you had who just tapped you and said, speak now. What could the men do to help the women in their lives, their wives, their girlfriends, their daughters, to speak more, to speak from the heart, to tell them what they really feel? Have you guys thought about that?
I think it might help men if women encourage them to speak more and reacted verbally and emotionally to what they're hearing and sharing. Men don't speak the same way women do. So it's tapping into that language of men and giving them the encouragement to share.
So you're going the other way. You're going the other way about what women can do to help men speak, because the male gender role is very much focused on what do I do to protect and provide for you, and let's not worry about talking, just look at what I do. And what I do is my way of showing you I love you. But there is a way, as you say, to invite men to speak more, to find their voice, which is for a woman to ask open-ended questions and then not criticize or judge what he says, just reflect it back and understand, which gives a safe space for the guy to talk.
Yes.
Right. So, listen, we're coming to the end now. And before we end, I just do want to say that guys can do the same for women. Because if a woman feels that you're truly listening to her and hearing what she's saying, then she is going to feel so much more in peace with you. If you reflect back what she says, hear her, and show her you hear, be responsive to what she says, so much of the relationship distress that we see will just be resolved by really good listening and understanding when we speak to each other. All right, so Judy, how can people find you? I understand you have a free report, Speaking Success Secrets Revealed, if people visit your website. So tell everybody who's listening about that.
Yes, my website is redhotpresentations.com, and they can sign up for my free report. It'll help them on learning how to structure a speech, use visuals, just advance as a speaker and advance their career. And it's the report, as you say, it's called Speaking Success Secrets Revealed, and they can get it for free by signing up on redhotpresentations.com. And my book that is on Amazon, Red Hot Presentations, can give them fuller descriptions on all of these areas that we talked about and grow as a speaker.
That's wonderful. And Elani, anybody who wants to get in touch with you, how can you be found?
Oh, well, I mean, you could probably go to my Twitter. I mean, I'm on there a lot. It's just my first name and my last name, Elani Latsios, ELENILATSIOS. It's kind of, a handful of a name, but basically just my Twitter, or I guess you could get in contact with me, get my number from somewhere. I mean, I'm going to try to come up with a website for myself to kind of start all this, but as of now, it's just basically Twitter, Facebook.
Guess what? I'm going to be seeing big things happening for you in your motivational speaking career.
So
people are going to recognize your name. I have enjoyed being with both of you. It was wonderful speaking with you, and I hope you'll come back and visit me again on Ask Dr. Love Radio. Take care for now and find your voice, but don't bite anybody's head off in the process. Bye-bye.